Grow or Die fam, I'm pretty fired up for this one. Cody McBroom has joined us, and we were chatting before we started about how long our friends, our mutual friends, have tried to connect us. This is actually our first time connecting. So, Cody, welcome to Grow or Die, and also great to meet you.
Likewise, man. Thank you. Like I said before, I've heard multiple times that we needed to connect, and I think choose hard and grow or die are like very synonymous. So this will be good.
I was going through the some of the info that you sent over, and I was like, dude, choose hard or grow or die. It's like it's a different way to say the same thing. So
Yep.
I'm pretty fired up for this. You said something that was an absolute bar. Like if Drake said this in a song, I swear everybody would be repeating this and singing this around town. You said, choose hard, set standards for yourself that you will not back away from or settle on. Accept difficulty as a test from God to create the traits and characteristics you need. Everything hard is training for future success. What's the science behind choosing hard? Chat with me on your approach as to why is this so important to you?
Yeah, man. This is, dude. It's such a loaded question too. So we started saying this at my coaching company just to clients, just to get them to do the work. It's just like, hey, just remember, just choose hard. Because in the moment, if you choose hard, it's most likely going to lead to more success, a better path, an easier path. When you choose easy, you're choosing complacency, right? You're less likely to be successful, and you're more likely to have a hard path later on because you're not preparing yourself. And it just kind of caught on, man. I started getting people like commenting or messaging me and like doing hashtag choose hard and all this stuff. And so then I started getting really into it because I saw something kind of happening, and we were getting ready to kind of rebrand the podcast when we were reaching 1,000 episodes, and we were like, okay, let's change the name. Let's go in on this. I trademarked it, and it got approved, and I was shocked that Choose Hard was available, which is crazy.
Who would have thought?
And so I took it and just started running with it. And then I actually spoke we talked about Brad before. I went to Utah last year at the end of the year, spoke at a seminar that he was hosting at a private little area out there. And that was my topic. And I've done webinars on it and stuff. And when you start speaking on it, you got to really learn the shit behind it, right? So I started diving into it. And it's really just neuroplasticity. At the end of the day, if you want to be successful, if you want to be more disciplined, have more self-control, have more self-respect because of those things, right? You have to do hard shit. Like it just comes down to it. And if we look at this like a video game, you're leveling up and you need to acquire powers or whatever. In life, the equivalent to that is self-discipline, self-control. It's motivation, but internal motivation, so you don't have to rely on somebody else. It's having purpose. None of that happens from doing easy things. And so it was a way for us to talk to everyday people and go, hey, like when you choose hard, whether for you that's literally just going to the gym for the first time, or for the other person it's a cold plunge, or for the other person it's quitting their job to start their own career, like the level of hard is relative to the person. And if you do that one thing now, you're going to start rewiring your brain, right? When you choose hard once, it rewires you to be able to do it again, obviously. When you go through stress, your stress capacity increases, so your ability to handle stress grows, right? The only way to develop self-control is to literally be in front of temptation of any kind and resist it, right? And so I think that, especially in today's world, so many people avoid the hard shit. And it's like, the hard stuff gives you everything you want. The struggles that you face are there to train you for the success you're after. And you're avoiding those things and expecting the results still. That doesn't make sense, right? And so for us, again, it just kind of became this thing that our clients started saying, and they were like, in the moment, fuck it, choose hard, don't hit snooze, wake up, do the thing, and it just kind of grew. But on a science level, your brain rewires. There's, between the different neurotransmitters, the way your brain is wired from a neuroplasticity perspective and being able to adapt and change to your environment, your circumstances, your situations, those things, you have to go through it in order to adapt in the way you want. And so it's our way of helping people go through it to adapt in the way that they're after, to achieve whatever it is that they want. And those, like you said, from what I mentioned, the traits and characteristics that's really what we're all after. Right? Somebody wants a six pack or whatever, but any you know, I've stepped on stage a couple times. I know you have many times. Any bodybuilder would tell you, like, we all love the aesthetics behind it. Don't get us wrong. But at the end of the journey, what we really take away from it is the hard work, the discipline. There's something that suffering does to us that we enjoy for some reason. It's kind of weird, but it shapes us who we are. It makes us more successful in other areas of life. And so if we were look at fitness in general, it's the safest and most accessible way to choose hard than anything else in life, but it carries over to everything else.
I love
Make
that.
sense?
It's hilarious that you put it in that manner, because I've described Grow or Die the exact same way on this podcast and it's neuroplasticity. Yeah. If these two neurons don't know how to communicate, then it's going to be very hard in the beginning to teach them to form a synaptic function between them. But the more times you do it, you just reinforce it, and then it becomes easy over time. And you are right. People are very much so avoidant of this. We live quite comfortable lives, and I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I would like to know, what are you doing right now that is choosing hard in your day-to-day?
Yeah, man. So I think and this is what's great. It's funny because, like, choosing hard does get easier in a way. So there's certain things now that they were hard, but at the same time, it becomes harder. Choosing hard always becomes harder too, because you have to find new shit, and it's like a level up. So yeah. So right now, actually, I'm training for High Rocks. So I do High Rocks in Vegas next week. We got a couple of my coaches are doing it with me. We have some clients flying out there. I don't do that stuff. I've never done that stuff. So I've never done a CrossFit competition, never done anything like that. So part of me stepping into this was I did my last physique show November in 2023, reversed out of that and started running. And I did a half marathon 12 weeks later. And then right when I finished that, I signed up for this High Rocks, right? And then I'm pretty sure I got I trained some law enforcement guys out here. We're going to do tactical games after that. So it's like, what am I doing that is a challenge, that is hard, just to prove, like, whatever it is, you can do it. You know, I grew up a chubby kid. Like, I wasn't genetically gifted, still not. I got to fight for the results quite a lot, especially when something like High Rocks, that is not my forte. So it has crushed me. But every single training session, man, like, that is choosing hard for me every damn time.
Having to scratch and claw your way for progression. There's something about that I find so beautiful in, bodybuilding, really in any physical output as a whole, because we've all been around the freaks, like the guy who was in the 6th grade dunking the basketball, or the dude who just has the 21-inch arms and doesn't really train them well. We've all been around the freaks, but to give it 10 years or 8 years or whatever it takes to be able to actually put on, in bodybuilding, a lot of muscle, but just build a gigantic skill set that was not native to you. Man, if you can do that, I mean, you talk about the self-discipline, self-respect earlier when you were chatting about choosing hard. There's no greater form of loving yourself than having extremely strong self-respect, self-discipline. And the easiest way to do that is get yourself to a place that you could be considered elite. I mean, if you're somebody who steps on stage in bodybuilding, might not be elite in bodybuilding, but your physique is absolutely elite compared to the rest of the world. And, I have this thing I chat about all the time. Once you become elite, you don't have any competition. Everyone who's average or good is in competition. Elite don't have any competition. And if you choose hard for long enough, if you choose either growing or you're dying for long enough, something positive has to happen. Before I move on to the next one, I have this thing that's popping in my head that you're kind of reminding me of. I've never once seen somebody lose who just simply never gave up. If you just don't stop building the business, if you just don't stop training the High Rocks, if you just don't stop whatever, I've never seen somebody fail.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested to see how this High Rocks goes for you. But this drives me into your coaching company. You're the leader, like you own it. When did you start bringing on coaches and building this company out? And then my follow-up question after that would be, I want to hear your thoughts. A lot of ECA mentees watch this show who want to have the team, and they've heard my thoughts a million times. What's the difference between being just the guy who's coaching people versus leading a group of other coaches towards a common vision?
Great question, man. I'm smiling because literally two nights ago, I posted a quote from Babe Ruth on my story that said, "You just can't beat the guy who doesn't quit." Verbatim what you said, and it's so true. And it's so, dude, I heard something a while back that really shaped a lot of my attitude and tenacity. And it was, this dude started his speech with, "What I'm about to tell you is either going to make you as successful as you ever be, or it's going to completely ruin your life, because I'm going to show you what your potential is. And if you don't take action on what your potential is, your life's going to suck." And it was like, man. And so once you start choosing hard and you grow, you can't not do that everywhere else, because there's a potential, right? So anyway, so my company, Tailored Coaching Method, I started training people. I was 18 years old, and I started losing weight. I actually ended up forging my dad's signature to change my degrees, because I was still kind of chubby. So my parents are like, "We're not going to pay for that. What are you're going to be a trainer? Been working out for a month." And, but I just knew, man, I had this feeling, and I had this goal, and I wanted to do it. So I forged a signature, just went all in, lost a bunch of weight, just kept going and going and going. So I think I trained people in person at a gym for 6.5 years before I stepped into the online space, which was partially because in my interview for the internship, I said I wanted to build an online company. Back then, it wasn't really a thing. So when I'll never forget, he goes, "How are you going to make money?" I was like, "I actually don't know."
That was my mom's exact response too. I go make money
Right.
in 2015. Yeah. I don't know. I'm online coach.
No idea.
Pay me $50 a month.
Yeah. So I'll find a way. And his response was, "Train people here every day for 5 years, and then you'll have the right to go online." And that stuck with me, man. So I trained people for 6.5 years, and then I left. I found out I was having my daughter, and I was like, it's now or never. I gotta grow, or I gotta die. And so I quit, gave up 100% of my clients, and just started from scratch. Told my wife, like, "Hey, dude, the house was in her name, her credit." I was like, "You're going to go on maternity leave in a few months, and you're never going to go back to work. I'm going to quit, and I'm going to start this thing." And she's like, "Okay, babe."
That's a real man. That's a real man right there. I love that.
And I did it. And so she never went back to work. She's a stay-at-home mom to this day. And I think it was, probably 2 years into it, I started just getting really, really swamped. And more than anything, I wanted to just impact more people. I wanted to reach more people, right? And so I got an assistant, and she kind of helped me organize stuff. But then I was still too busy because I got more clients. And then I brought in a coach. And then I changed the name of the company to Tailored Coaching Method, because it was named after me. And just kept growing, man. And so that was in 2017 when I stepped away from the gym and started it. And now there's in total 12 of us, which includes our chief science officer and media and that stuff. 9 total coaches, and we're spread out all over the country. I live in Washington. I have one person here in Washington. And yeah, man, it's been phenomenal. And the difference between being like the guy and being the guy that runs a team, I mean, more than anything, I think you got to really dig deep and understand why you're doing it, what your purpose is, and what you're after. Like, what does success mean outside of financial? Because you can be rich doing anything and do it in anything in any way, Truthfully, I probably could have made more money quicker if I just was like, I'm going to stick to myself, raise my prices, and because we got plenty of people funneling in, so I can take my pick. But that wasn't my goal. I really wanted to build a team. I wanted a physical location to do events, to have a podcast studio, to do all those things. And we've just been checking off those boxes. And now I actually hit a point where I checked off the boxes personally and professionally, and was like, I need to figure out more, because I started just not care. It was just the motivation just kind of died, And for me, it's so funny. It's hard for me not to say grow or die now. But like, if I'm not growing, branding. It is. If I'm not growing, I feel like I'm dying, man. And so to me, it was like, I gotta figure out what more is, And so we're in a good path of growth now, you know, but it's just for me, it's been about reach, man. And you have to, like, there's a difference between when running a team is so much more than just coaching clients, right? I still coach some clients because I have some higher profile people and I want to keep my finger on the pulse. That helps me with my marketing. But at a certain point, I was like, I can't coach and create and manage and do all these things. So I had to create a new role to have somebody else help me manage the team and the coaching and direct where the coaching is going, while I have somebody else help me direct the content and the creation, the marketing, you know, and I'm big picture thinker, vision, guy on the screen. And stepping into just that role is the big key. And if you're listening to this and you're trying to decide, what do I do? That might not be your role, but I had to be honest, because there was a point too, with all the chaos in the world, I was like, dude, fuck social media. I'm out. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. Like, I can't stand it. I can't say what I want to say, which I stopped avoiding at some point. But I was in a point where if I wanted to grow, I knew that I had to be fully me, and I had to step into, like, I need to be the visionary. I need to be the poster boy. I need to be the guy on the camera. That's why I'm doing High Rocks. I did the half marathon. I'm going to do the next thing. And, like, I got to be that and stop trying to be the rest, or I need to step into a different role and bring somebody else in, right? And so I think the biggest thing is when you lead a team, the company, the brand, it grows, and you have to figure out where your spot really is, if that makes sense.
You absolutely nailed that. I just went through all of that. I mean, you absolutely nailed that. Could have been said better. Your role should always be evolving as a leader. I resisted the change for a long time. I was like, I'm the bodybuilding coach. Like, I'm the guy to get the dub. I'm the guy to save all your problems. And, you know, January 1, like, I was only at 56 clients. I was only working with 56 people at the time. November 1, I was still working with a 91. So I started the process, and I was like, you know what? ECA's dominating. You need to go all in on ECA and being the visionary for where TM goes next. And I got 13 clients. I went through that whole process. Everyone understands the vision. Everyone has very clear roles. After this, I'm calling head coach, CEO in training, Kelly, and I'm going to tell her that they just had a week. I didn't think that they would have a week like this until about April or May. And they just had a week that would have been our 6th biggest week last year. And she didn't know that yet. So I'm pretty fired up to tell her that. But what I found, allowing my role to evolve has allowed so much more creativity and purpose in the staff. Before, when I was way too involved in the day-to-day, it was almost like well, Justin's got it. And whether that's my fault or whether that's their fault, it's just, well, Justin's got it. Like, I don't need to share my idea. Justin's got it. And I think we have great communication. I have some unbelievably talented people, but there's confirmation bias when what you're doing is always working. But if we're not fulfilled inside, because our role is supposed to be something different than just coaching everybody, babysitting all the time, and man, like, it's not really working. It's not really winning. And you made an interesting point. I've said it for so long, Cody, we can make so much more money if we just coach on our own, didn't have a team, no stress, made more money. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I feel like you're telling my story when it's like, you just need to impact more people. And the only way to impact more people is by allowing your vision to really unfold and stepping into that power. So I'm proud of you for doing that, because I know how freaking hard that is, man.
Oh yeah, bro. Well, you know, that was 2024 for us. And so at the end of 2023, I implemented what we call it the purpose blueprint. And it's something that I was taught by a mentor of mine who's ex-Navy SEAL. And it's like, this is how we operate as leaders in the SEALs. And I'm like, cool. And it's, what's your vision? What's the mission? What are your values? And what are the principles of your company? And it's, dude, we have like a document that everybody on the team signed. We might as well cut our hand and shake them blood, dude. It was a dope, very epic meetup. Everybody flew out to the headquarters here, and it caused so much strength to be built. But dude, there's 5 people that aren't on my team anymore because of it, you know? And that's just reality, because when it's said, it's like, this is who we are, this is what we're doing. And if you're not about this, that's okay. I love you still, but there's the door.
Yep.
Because this is how we create. Yep. This is how we create the impact. And it's brought in new people that walk into the team understanding who we are and what we're about. And man, I can't tell you the amount of applications to work for me, the amount of even just people who want to coach with us, right? Get coached by us, that say the reason is not because of our results and weight loss and all that stuff. And so these are people that they're not coming to us to build their business. They're coming to us to lose weight or get in shape. And they say, your values are what caused me to apply. And that's what a lot of people in today's world and really with just branding in general don't understand. And it's hard because you feel like you got to bite your tongue with a lot of things that you have an opinion on, even though it's just an opinion, who cares? At least that's my attitude. But once I started openly speaking, it was just so many people are like, man, I agree. I'm with you. Those are my values too. And it creates a much stronger culture. And that's really what creates that growth. And then you feel more encouraged to step into your role. And like the reality is, you know, the more, like if we have a purpose, we have a great responsibility to be successful in that thing and to fulfill that purpose. Responsibility creates a lot of pressure. Right. And that's where it can be scary to step into it, because the pressure creates a lot of scarcity at first. But pressure is also a privilege, which people commonly say, because that's what creates the purpose. That's what helps you fulfill the purpose. And if we're taking on all the pressure, like, okay, cool, it's noble as an entrepreneur, I guess, but also you're not allowing any of that responsibility to land on people on your team. And so they don't get to feel the purpose. Right. And so like, to your point, when you allow people to step into the right roles who are probably going to end up being better than you at it anyway, you know, because there's certain things, because, you know, and this is, I think part of me didn't like this part because I didn't want to feel like conceited and cocky. Like it just, like it, I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Nobody else can be on this mic but me for this company and this brand. And I didn't want to be that guy because I had this like bad image in my head of like, oh, that's conceited. No, it's not. Like if God wants me to be this dude, I just got to be this dude to the fullest, right? And so, and this is how I knew, for me at least, it was like, this is what I would call a sign from God. I made this decision and I was like, all right, I need to talk to this person on my team who I think will be a good fit for more of that role to help me organize and manage the team and the systems. And I knew she went to college and everything, and I didn't know exactly what her master's was in. Curriculum organization. What? I'm like, what are the chances that you're perfect for taking all this shit in my head
that
and
you were
making a
built
system?
for this?
Literally built for it.
Like Simba.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
and it's been perfect.
You talk about a little bit of branding, being yourself, putting your opinions out there. Man, people are real scared to do it. I'm getting much more radical right now, and you've got to embrace that hate. You want people to be on your Instagram absolutely hating you. You want people saying, you want them to be saying nasty things about you. You cannot back down from that. The only way that you find your tribe of people who's going to be able to live up to the values of the company that you set is by being your most authentic self out there. And authenticity comes with unpopular opinions. You know, I made a post yesterday, or I made a piece of content. I haven't posted it yet. That when I post this thing, people are, I mean, they're going to be absolutely livid. But you know what my little toxic trait is? I'm kind of starting to get to a point where it's like, hey, dude, let me throw you some rage bait. Let me give you a little rage bait. But like, it's good. As you said, the dude who comes and says, man, like, I really agree with that. Like, that's somebody who you're aligned with. And then like, for me, they want to grow a skill set to be a professional bodybuilding coach, heal autoimmune issues, grow a huge online training business. Well, boy, I knew who they're going to hire right away. We already know that we have that alignment. And that came from me sharing the unpopular opinion that had 15 people telling me that my mom should have aborted me. And that my mom has been messaged on Facebook by people saying that before. Crazy. You got to be able to put yourself out there. So, man, I definitely commend you for that. Since having your daughter, Man, I have heard so many males. The next 4 or 5 years of my life, there's gonna be little mini Justins running around. That's terrifying to think of. I've heard many males just talk about how game changing that was for them. Would you say you told your wife she was never going back to work? Was the bigger mover the wife not going back to work, or holy cow, I have my offspring coming into this world, like I need to provide?
Yeah. You know, it's hard to say, honestly. Looking back, because my wife didn't want to do that. She was working up in the company as a project manager. She was like, okay, but I'm probably going to go back because I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, okay. The second she saw my daughter, she in the hospital room, she looked at me. She was like, I don't want to go back. And I'm like, perfect. You don't have to. And so I think that it's hard to say which one, because the sense of, to be honest with you, the sense of pressure I felt when I told her that was way greater, because I was the head trainer at a gym, and it's a popular gym in this state, and a really well-known guy who owns it. And I left that, and I left 100% of my clients to just leave on good terms. So I went from a healthy paycheck and being like the guy at that place to zero, and that amount of pressure, dude, I went into hustle mode. So that was a bigger game changer from a standpoint of like growth in a short period of time. But I'll never forget the moment so we went home, and my mother-in-law came and stayed with us for a little bit, like 4 or 5 days. And I'll never forget the day she went back home. She lives on the other side of the state. So she went to drive home, and we just watched her car drive away. And it's that moment of, holy shit, we got to keep this little thing alive. Like, we don't know what we're doing, And that was pretty crazy and pretty scary. But man, like for as a father, the biggest shift really didn't start happening until she was probably like 3, probably 4. Honestly, she's 6 now. And that's because, I mean, let's just be real. Like at first, like they just need mom constantly, I mean, that's really it. And then I go back to work and I'm hustling. So she's teaching her a lot of stuff in the early stages, but at a certain point, any child, boy or girl, they need their dad. Their dad helps them create their identity and helps them create confidence. And you're setting them up for what they're going to look for in the future, And so I became much more intentional, because I knew how whatever I do to my wife in front of her, she's going to pick up those traits as this is how men should act. And I also know that the core values I instill in the home, the words I speak over her and everything, are going to start to rub off. And I'm just now starting to see a lot of that. And me and my wife have been very intentional about that for the last couple of years. So it's really, really, really cool, man. But it does something different to you. It really does.
I bet.
And
girl dad.
I mean,
that's like that. You're like Superman.
Yeah. You're literally the strongest person in the world. It's crazy, and the funniest person in the world, which is the opposite of what my wife
Hey, that
thinks.
was going to make me feel great.
Yeah, exactly.
I have this thing that I teach these same mentees called the client acquisition funnel. And Cody, at the top of the client acquisition funnel, I'm like, dude, start a podcast. Go on, Riverside or StreamYard or whatever. Start recording your thoughts. Clients ask you questions, answer the question, long format on a podcast, post it out there somewhere. And as you get more and more clients, as you get more and more notoriety, as more and more people come in, you can have the mic, you can have the camera, you can have whatever. Record the freaking podcast and put your thoughts out there in long form. Mm-hmm. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, be on every single one of them. Now that we're back on YouTube, let's go. Pretty fired up about this. And then from that podcast, this podcast, for example, I'm not sure I know I'm coming on yours next week, so I'm not sure if you got the whole Rolodex of how we do it. But like, you're going to get all this raw content, and then your clippers, editors, whatever, they're going to go through it and make beautiful stuff out of it for you to attract more people into your top of funnel, which is where the sales process begins. What do you think about that? If I was starting out right now, I would have a podcast and I would post at least once a week. And actually, let me go through my Rolodex. I would start a podcast, post every single week. I would answer first-person shooter selfies on Instagram whenever I got asked a question on Instagram to promote more people to ask me questions. I would message every single new follower, just welcome them to the page, open up a communication channel. And I would continue to establish myself as a thought leader through this long form content. And for me, Cody, when you look at what Grower I launched, that completely changed TM. It changed everything. And you have a very successful podcast as well, of course, called Juice Hard, which I'm really fired up to come on. What do you think about that? Did you see your podcast really shift your business? And if you were starting, is that something that you would focus on? Do you think that's a little bit more down the line?
I do. I mean, it was a game changer for us. So it used to be called the Tailored Life Podcast, and I ended up changing it to Choose Hard when we rebranded. And when I hit 1,000 episodes, I was like, all right,
You're at 1,000 episodes?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
For a minute. Probably 2017, I think.
Wow.
I remember talking about my daughter about to be born.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started with my buddy Theo. He was a trainer at the gym with me, and it was actually mind versus muscle at the time. And it was funny because it was like I was like the white dude who used to be chubby and lost weight and loved the science, and he was like the skinny black dude who got jacked and just loved to like poke fun. And it was so great. He's in my wedding. He's one of my best friends. And but as we got older, we've just moved. And so he lives like an hour away from me now. He left the gym and I left the gym, and it was like, dude, what are we doing here? And he was like, you got to take it. This is your thing, man. So I changed it. I also changed it because when we were speaking on being authentic, the podcast is where I'm the most raw because it's unfiltered. And so you can't do a podcast well if you're going to try to filter yourself or over script it. And so I wanted it to be Choose Hard, so it's my own brand because it is just me. It's nobody else on my team. But to your point, 100%, it was a massive shift. And so there's something I would echo everything you just said. There's something else I would add to it, and I'll preface that and everything else with just this. You got to be a good coach, because if you get on a podcast and you can't talk for an hour on a training and nutrition, like, start there, and I feel like that's a big issue. People are like, wow, it's hard for me to do long form content. Well, is it because you're not intelligent enough? You're not smart enough in the training and nutrition space? And if you're listening and that triggers you, go learn, go study. Yeah. That's okay. But I mean, it's not, you got to go learn, you got to do that and then come back to it. But you should definitely podcast. And I would agree with everything you just said. I always did. The one thing I think that I've always done that not as many people do, because they sleep on this, is a website and blog. And
what do you do on your website? I don't do much on ours.
So I will take a podcast that I do a topic on, take the transcript, send it to ChatGPT, tell them to write me an article summary of it in Cody McBroom's voice, who owns this. I'll give him the right prompt. And then I just add a few things here and there.
Put us on game. Us on game. I love
that. I was writing blogs. That was what I started with before Instagram or anything. So I always did that before ChatGPT, and I had to actually write my own articles, right? And so, but here's the reason I say this is because I have people who still apply for coaching because they find my reverse dieting article that I wrote in 2016. I'm not joking. All the time. I think if you type in reverse diet transformation and go to images, I'm pretty sure I'm still the first image on Google with my client Meredith. And we have a bunch of clients on there because I recognized reverse dieting as a popular thing. And I go, I'm going to SEO the shit out of this. And I started creating a bunch of content on it, right? Did a podcast and then embedded that into an article. And then I wrote a regular article. And then I had our chief science officer write an article called the Metabolic Adaptation Guide. And we just started doing that. And so SEO, I mean, dude, with ChatGPT, it's so much easier now. I paid consultants. I studied SEO for years. Now it's like you can just send your URL to ChatGPT and be like, audit this to help me optimize my SEO. And it'll tell you everything you need to know. But your image size, your image description and title, the keywords you put throughout your articles, the keywords you put throughout your pages, and your location, embedding a map of your location in the bottom of your footer. There's so many little things. And dude, we put a lot of effort into content, but we still get just as many, some months more, applications from people just going to Google, because nobody goes to Instagram for help losing weight for a wedding and types in weight loss near me for wedding. They don't do that. You go to Google. And if you're not popping up on Google, and so when we pop up on Google and it says Washington State's #1 weight loss coaching, people are like, oh, well, shit, that's the guy. And they click on it and they see a plethora of information, and they see bodybuilding.com, Huffington Post, T Nation, all these places that I've been featured. And it's like, it's the best business card, and it's the easiest way to get people to find you. And that's like not even running ads. If you run Google keyword ads, it's even better. But I think a lot of people sleep on that, man. And you mentioned YouTube. Google owns YouTube. YouTube is the #2 search engine. So if you're not on YouTube, that's an issue. And if you film a YouTube video, take that YouTube video, embed it into an article, write a brief summary about it, double points. Now you're going to pop up twice on Google. It's like, it's a no-brainer.
I'm going to steal this. Don't be mad
I've
at
done, bro, no, dude, I did, I can't even remember. I feel bad saying this, but there's a lot of different abbreviated fitness business names, and they had me fly out to, it was in Austin when I spoke about this. I was speaking there, Brad was speaking there, Jordan Syatt was there, and I spoke on SEO, and I talked about this, and I was like, do not sleep on this. And I'll never forget, because Jordan Syatt came up right after me and goes, I'm going to talk about Instagram, but don't do anything I say until you do what Cody just got done talking about. Because why my business is actually successful today started with everything that he just said.
Damn.
And it's crazy.
I to be honest, I've undervalued that. I've missed the ball. I have missed the ball. You're gonna see Together More's website get a little revamped. Then it's just like a middle funnel thing for us. It's not something we do. We get a lot from Instagram, and I think I've banked a little too hard on it. Instagram could be gone tomorrow. I know coaches who their whole leads are on TikTok. I'm like, dude, I would be freaking out right now, man. I really would. I'm gonna give you a little game.
I was happy when it left for a sec.
Were you?
Yeah, and then there were. I think Trump just did a little switch.
Trump was like, let me be the first person to say that this should go, and then he wasn't the one who made it go. But then once it goes, he's like, let me bring this back and be everyone's hero. And I'm like, am I the only? Come on, this is called a switcheroo.
Yeah, so good.
So here's a little game. Grok. I have. I believe what happens is the more I talk to Grok, it's automatically training on my account. So I have a custom GPT that like all of my ECA stuff, all of my client WhatsApp chats ever have been uploaded to through the .txt file. I think it's .text, I'd imagine. And obviously it's like my name, client name. So it's can kind of talk like me, if you will. Mm-hmm. But on the X, it's kind of training itself without me prompting to on my account is I believe what's happening because, man, if I ask Grok something, dude, I'm getting fire back. So I'll go to Grok and I'll say, Grok, this is for Together More Fitness. You are acting as my brand marketing expert and an expert in SEO. I want you to go through health, fitness, functional medicine, and bodybuilding related topics on this platform that are currently going the most viral. I want you to give me 15 for each of those categories. And then with those 15, I want you to give me the 5 most viral tweets. And it will go in and it will spit all these out because it's updated in real time on itself. It'll spit all these out and you can literally look what is hot in real time. And you can choose to chat about it. Sometimes it's stuff that, not saying I'm better than, it's just stuff that my target client isn't super interested in. But this past week, when I did it, in the functional medicine side, the progesterone was the 4th one. And I was like, hang on. I've got to take a tiny little bit of credit for putting progesterone on this shit. I talk about it way too much. So I'm going to boost my own ego. But that prompt on Grok, it's really insightful what it gives. Cody, people sleep on AI and fitness coaching, even though everywhere else you see it just exploding markets. There's a challenge within fitness coaching because it can't really help you coach the client directly. It could help you coach the client directly. It could help you coach the client directly, but it wouldn't be very I think most of us are sending videos and voice memos anyway, so I don't think it can really help much there. For the content curation, one more game. I do these carousel posts, and I'll upload all the carousel posts into ChatGPT, and I ask it to tell me which list I should put these in to promote people to continue to swipe all the way to the end. And at the end, I have a call to action. Man, since I started doing that, it's been insane.
Yeah.
You're obviously not sleeping on AI. You think this is something fitness coaches should definitely be keen to, yeah?
Absolutely. I think that, look, like if you need ChatGPT to write you a training program, that's sad, right? But I mean, and if we really think, I mean, stuff like that's been going on forever. I remember hearing about people, there would be guys who their business model was writing CrossFit workouts that CrossFit gym owners would just pay to use. And I was like, how do you own a gym if you don't know how to write the workouts for the people? I don't know how to write CrossFit workouts because I don't do or like CrossFit, but yeah, I have no idea either. But the point is like, if you're a CrossFit gym owner, you should probably do that. So I think there's like that side of it, but also much like, if, individualizing training programs, every coach has a style of training. And so when I realized I just wrote the exact same program for two different guys who wanted to train 5 days a week and had the same goals and were the same age, and I did it separate occasions, so I spent twice as long doing it, like, this doesn't make any sense. They won't give a shit, and I just wasted a lot of time. And it's the same idea there. I could sit and think of a great title because I've studied copywriting. But I could go way quicker and just tell ChatGPT with the right prompt to give me 10, and I'm going to choose from it. My description, here's a few lines, expand on this and make it better for SEO. There's my description for the podcast. Even I wrote an article on High Rocks because High Rocks is something I'm doing, and it's really, really popular as far as being searched right now. And I took a podcast I did on the topic, transcribed it, and then I was like, I want to add some stuff to it. I want to add a section of the 2025 schedule because I know people search 2025 schedule. This doesn't give my article value, but it makes people find it. So I said, ChatGPT, can you add this section and put every single competition listed on the schedule in 2025? And I was like, what is something else people search? So you type in High Rocks on Google and you see other people searched all these things. People are obsessed with what shoes to wear. And it's probably because Puma came out with some new shoes for it and stuff. So I was like, cool, let's add a section. Best shoes for High Rocks. And it just saves you the time. ChatGPT didn't put those things in it. The content creator in me had to think of that to add to it. So you still have to use some of yourself, right? But same thing with like coaching, like if somebody asks me a question that I've answered a million times and I'm just messaging them, I can copy and paste a previous answer because it's a general question. Or I can ask ChatGPT for the research to cite on this or whatever. But that can't replace my voice memos or my Loom videos and stuff like that, as you mentioned. I think that's really what makes coaching. And to add to that too, I'm very big on like walking the walk. I think there's a lot of like we actually just hired him. It's hilarious. He's going through our internship right now. He hired us over a year ago and he's been a trainer for a decade. But he came to one of my seminars and I opened up with saying, if you're a trainer and you don't look like a trainer, that's an issue, right? Pissed him off, but then he hired us because of it. He's lost like 40 pounds, I think, looks totally different. And he told me on the phone, I'm going to lose that weight and you're going to hire me because I want to get out of the gym. I hired him a couple weeks ago. And it's like, you know what I mean? So, but if you're not walking the walk, that's an issue. And so part of that is not just because of marketing. It's also because your clients are going to be more adherent and consistent listening to somebody they respect. They're only going to respect you if they see that you are practicing what you preach and what you're asking them to do, you've already done and you continue to do. And so I think, again, that's something AI will never replace. You can't use AI and be fat and expect to coach people on fat loss. Like that doesn't make sense. So I think, because I'll admit this too, at first when ChatGPT came out and people started using it, I was like, I ain't using that shit. Like I'm a content creator. I can create on my own. But it was very quick for me to go, okay, I can adapt, grow or die. I can adapt or die, basically. So I adapted and I use it for what it's useful for, And
it's not useful for people copying and pasting and putting it in Instagram captions. We can all tell. We can all tell the asterisk before the next line. We can all tell that a robot wrote this and it's not in your voice whatsoever. The ChatGPT captions have got to go. And also, people buy people they trust. How do you build trust? By being authentic. Well, also a big part of authenticity, to your point about being a fat trainer, is alignment. How am I going to sit here and talk about training and shit if I'm not a little bit jacked? Like, how are we going to sit and have this conversation if we're way freaking out of shape? It's not going to go well. You're not going to be aligned with the thing you're talking about. So you're not going to be authentic. So you're not going to build trust. Well, the ChatGPT captions, I mean, they completely, there's people coming to my mind right now. They disqualify you from being a thought leader whatsoever.
Yeah.
Otter. Do you know Otter, the voice transcription service? Oh man, Otter is incredible. That's the best voice transcription service of all time. One of my huge hacks. I make every ECA module like this. I make every single ECA module. I'll go on a walk with Peyton. I pull up Otter. I just let my mind rip and I just talk it into my phone. It'll be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long. That Otter transcription, you're going to take that, put that into ChatGPT, and it's going to make it nice and pretty and beautiful. And then I send it off to my team to actually brand it and make it sound. They make it. I talk about delivering quality with brevity. So like sometimes things get a little wordy when I'm just spewing. So ChatGPT will like transcribe it wordy. Dude, that is a gigantic cheat code potentially for your articles. I think fitness coaches I think everyone needs to be involved in what's going on here with AI, because there's a very clear direction that we are going. And like, you can either sit there and resist the change like people do with computers, or you can embrace it and understand that we are going to have robots in our home. I'm going to be the first one. We are going to have robots that will do maid work for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. I'm ready. Sign me up. How do I get one? Will you ever have a robot?
I don't know, man. It's just, I saw Elon was talking about, like, I think he said, these will drive your kids to school. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to let that thing drive my kid to school. I'm like,
How about that one?
Yeah.
I might stop. If you just do my laundry? Can you just do my fucking laundry?
Yeah.
Like, that would be fantastic. Cody, let me ask, you obviously have a big team, a whole bunch of coaches in there. What would you say separates, remember, I'm your competition, so be careful. What separates your coaching team from everybody else?
Yeah. I'm going to say this first too, because it's, you're not competition, because there is no, like, there's just, to me, the way I see it is, for whatever reason, there's going to be two people listening to this. Both of them need a coach, and one's going to relate to you more, going to hire you. One's going to relate to me more, going to hire me. Like, it's just.
You can't hire me anymore, but
There you go. You know what I mean?
They're both going to hire you.
Yeah, there you go. And to that point, I don't do business coaching. I've done it like here and there. I've mentored people. I've taught people a lot of stuff. I've spoken at fitness business events multiple times, but that's not my vision. My vision is building a very large individualized coaching company, So, but anyway, I think that people don't collaborate enough because they fear competition, and it just never makes sense to me. It just never makes sense to me. But what separates us from everybody else is what our name is, Tailored Coaching Method. And I'll never forget, I was literally speaking at an event in Arizona years ago. This was in 2018 or 19. And I was trying to find a new name for the company because it was named after me. And I remember saying, the way we coach is a tailored coaching method. And I literally looked at my camera guy and was like, that's it. And then I emailed my lawyer as soon as I got done with my talk and changed it. And so we really do focus on tailoring the aspect. And there's a lot of people who say individualize on stuff. And there's a reason why we're not the cheapest, like, plain and simple. We don't, like, there's a lot of people who charge way less to us, a lot of companies that we compete with that are half our price. And I have to tell people on the phone, like, well, why are you twice as expensive? It's like, because we're twice as good, plain and simple. We put more into the process because we know that, going back to AI is never going to get people results because it can't keep you accountable of doing the work and becoming the person you want to become. And so we focus so much on, like, fitness is the catalyst for all this other change in your life. We talk about it all the time. We call it the self-formation process. Self-control helps you develop self-discipline, which instills self-belief, and you continue to take action, which leads to self-respect. And that's what we're all after, right? And so this process of taking people through nutrition and training, but showing them how it makes them a better employee or employer, a better father or a better mother, a better brother, sister, parent, whatever, like, that's what is really different about us. We're not afraid to, like, I guess, speak out of our lane because, you know, we talk about life, we talk about deep shit, but it's because those are the changes that people are craving. And AI can't do that. AI can help me with the information I need and the knowledge and the text and the copy and the marketing and everything, but it can't create the relationships that we create, you know. And I've found that in today's world, there's not a lot of larger size companies that can provide that, because at a certain point, and this is the hardest part about my business. At a certain size, it's very difficult to scale that relationship, that emotional intelligence, that like the bond you create in the culture. It's either like you're a tight knit thing, or you go, fuck it, I'm going to scale, charge way less, and just go to the masses. And I'm stubborn. I'm not going to do that. And so what we're creating, man, all year last year was like a lot of ups and downs, because we were just trying to develop the right systems to be able to do that on a larger scale, which we finally figured out how to do and done really well now. So growth is just amazing at this point, but it took over a year. You know, like 2023, I started talking the Purpose Blueprint, implemented that, started really focusing on these different aspects, and running a larger team with that much, like that strong of a bond and a culture and mindset and the values, like that's difficult, man. It's really, really hard. And so we got through that and we were growing. But I think that what separates us is that my stubborn ass was willing to keep pushing until that's what was created, and we can scale larger while keep maintaining that. Most people just won't go through what it takes to do that, you know? So you're either going to hire a company that is cheap and you're not going to have a real relationship with them, or you got to find a one-off coach that you could probably get that with, and hopefully they're not full.
Yeah.
You know?
That's choose your heart.
Tough.
You going to choose the more expensive route, or you going to choose the route that you're going to have to waste a whole bunch of time, learn bad lessons, and then make up for later.
Yeah.
Dude, I got to say, I admire you. I can tell you're a great leader. You're very well spoken. Definitely glad that we connected here on this podcast. I think all of our mutual friends that have been trying to connect us for a while were right. But you give off a very, very authentic aura. So, you know, one man to another. I definitely respect that a lot about you. I'm fired up to come on your podcast next week. That's going to be really exciting. I hope that there's people that listen to this and really consider chatting with your team. Where can people reach out to you in your team on Instagram if they want to chat with you? Well, apparently just like Washington's #1 weight loss company.
We'll pop up. We will pop up. And thank you, man. That means a lot. It really does. More than any like accolades or accomplishments I've done, like just being real and leadership is something that I've found super fascinating. I've studied a lot, I've hired mentors on, and so it does mean a lot saying that. So thank you. Yeah, you can find me, Cody McBroom, on Instagram. Company is Tailored Coaching Method. You can Google either one of those things, and we have a lot of content out there between my podcast website, the company website. I have a training app. We have everything is Google. You can find us there and ask us anything. We've coached. It's funny, man. We coached a lot of coaches on fitness and nutrition just because they're like, I need to look the part. I need to, you know, and we know how to do that really well now because we've worked with so many of them. They're not the everyday person. Obviously, we can hold them to a different standard. But yeah, man, check out my stuff because I talk about this exact stuff a lot. Identity, standards, values. Those are like that's my shit. I love talking about that stuff, and so you can get a lot of that from the podcast.
Amazing. Cody, you're fantastic. Grower and I fam, y'all know what to do. Make sure to blow Cody's socials up, and you will be hearing from me on Choose Hard very soon. Cody, Grower and I, peace, y'all.